Welcome back, everyone. Today we're venturing into some dangerous territory with cursed gear. I finally got 6 pieces of cursed gear myself with some decent combat rating, so I'm going to be experimenting with these and some of the bonuses as I change classes over the next couple of weeks. Even myself, I've been fairly outspoken that I still prefer invocations. My approach is always to this video is just to talk about some of the potential options for the benefits involved so that you can make a more informed decision on whether you want to use your purification shards or even equip these pieces at all. Before we begin, I want to mention that for bonuses with 90-second cooldowns on the 2-piece effects, these will be reduced to 60 seconds, 50 seconds, 40 seconds, and 30 seconds as you add additional pieces. And for the bonuses with 30-second cooldowns for 2-piece effects, it'll be 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 12 seconds, and 9 seconds for the additional pieces. All of the curse bonuses seem to be designed with certain set themes in mind: Ghosted, Vithus, Vexed, Shepherds, Lashed, Shalbass, Detested, Barons, Nettled, Mountback, Atrophied, Grace or Banquet, Wired, Isatar, Blustered, Thousand Winds, Tortured, Gloom. So when you're gearing your character, you can use this for some potential ideas if you want to create your own build, or perhaps theorycraft anything, or something else along those lines as well. Ghosted, and this is easily the most ironic name because the effect of proccing the ghost isn't actually present for many skills that indicate buff in the skill tab. No idea if this is a bug or if it's intended at this point, but it's absolutely horrible for trying to pre-plan things out. At this point, I can't in good faith recommend using this unless you know for certain your loadout will trigger it. In general, the 6-second cooldown is poor. This requires very good timing for something that's best suited for PvP to aid in damage reduction, but the issue is with the current meta, you can often get one shot from a monk from off the screen and the insane amounts of CC that prevent you from even getting a buff off to begin with. The 4-piece and 6-piece are lost if the illusion is out of range or killed, and keep in mind both the attack speed and move speed are capped, so you might not even get full benefit of this to begin with. Fortunate that this is at the top of the list. I actually think this is the worst one overall. Vexed. Now we do have the ability to summon outside of the Necro class, but at the moment there isn't really any non-Necro build I'd recommend designing for the sole intent of utilizing this. That being said, you can make a build for fun or something that you just enjoy and get benefit from this. However, as a Necro, if you're using 6-piece Shepherds or running Guided by Maggot Pants, the 4-piece and 6-piece effects that Vex provides lose a lot of value. A better use here might be to run 4-piece Shepherds with 2-piece Shalbass, which does buff your summon damage, or even 2-piece Banquet that'll proc off of something like your Molten Golem, and then perhaps swap the Guided by Maggot Pants out for the Chest Cloak of Quills or something similar. Lashed, and this is one of the better 2-piece bonuses, with an initial cooldown of 30 seconds, and having the trigger provide a fair amount of damage that is dealt over 3 seconds, this adds some synergy outside of just primary attacks. Now you have a damage over time component, which you can get benefit from the Banquet set as well. Plus you'd have benefit from a variety of classes or builds, and overall I think this is the most versatile option out there, so if you're somebody that changes classes frequently, this might be a good one to look at. The 4 and 6-piece effects are a little lackluster since the target has to die within that 3-second duration, and the explosion damage is fairly underwhelming if it does occur. So again, just simply the 2-piece here appears to be the most versatile of all options, so it isn't something you want to overlook. Detested, and this has some amazing uses, especially in PvE. Now you could run 4-piece Barons to increase the damage that targets receive along with this curse, and it'll act as a massive damage buff for your party. Think of this in a situation like Endless Defense, where with 6 pieces you have 20% uptime on 32% bonus damage when paired with Barons to all the targets into this void and under a control effect. Really works well with support playstyles, even in PvP, that can help create burst windows for players on your team. Absolutely don't sleep on this curse. A lot of people overlook this one. It has a lot of good value in the right situation. Nettled. Now, I dislike shields in this game in general, but not because they aren't effective. It's because of how they scale, more specifically how well they scale with higher resonance. However, the 90-second cooldown of this is really the only saving grace for making this completely broken in my opinion. Let's read the tooltip here, or part of it. For the next 6 seconds, every time you are hit, you will counterattack. Every time you are hit. So picture this on a whale monk with a shield of Zen that you can't break. If there's something like a demon hunter firing rapidly because they have bonus attack speed and not breaking through that shield, they are literally shooting themselves and just destroying their own health pool. I don't think I need to say much more. This Probably needs some attention. Hopefully it doesn't see a whole lot of use, but I fear it probably will work its way in very quickly over the next week or so as people kind of figure this out. Atrophied. I like the concept, but it requires a big commitment in my opinion. Deal continuous damage to make a ground effect that deals more damage, but it has a long cooldown, and at 2-piece, there's no snare effect. The playstyle of most damage over time type builds will be to apply your dots and run away, or kite. So you'll want to dot your target and start moving, but whether it's PvP or PvE, your target's going to move as well. So you really need a snare in order to get them to stay in that ground effect to maximize the benefit of this. Now, if you run the 4 or 6-piece option, that's where the commitment comes in, right? Because you're starting to have to kind of fully commit to putting all your pieces to this curse or running something in your build that provides a snare otherwise. It does seem to work fairly well and provide large damage, but again, it doesn't leave much room for other curses or other build loadouts. Wired, and this is probably my least favorite curse, but that's not because it's bad or to say that it isn't viable. This will most likely see the most use primarily by PvE farmers or loopers who have, say, low to mid resonance. It procs after a kill, so it can be wasted frequently, and if you were running this with Isatar, presumably you're clearing mobs quickly, and the additional damage provided by 4 or 6 pieces just feels redundant to the Isatar 4-piece. So it's not that it's bad, I just feel like it kind of lacks its own identity, and that's why I personally don't care for it, but again, it certainly is viable. Blustered. Now this is actually decent in PvP, believe it or not. When metas are CC heavy, additional CC becomes even better because it allows for overlap or chain CC, and the mistiming of any CC is less detrimental. The knockback here works as an interrupt and actually does solid damage. If you're utilizing 6-piece curse and 2-piece Windloft, because keep in mind you only need 2-piece Windloft to activate 1000 Winds, if this were a BG situation of something like a Barbarian on defense, you can basically run back to the objective, knock everybody out of it, then stun them, and you can do it over and over every time you res while having Undying Rage up again. In general, I actually feel like this curse is kind of toxic. The game didn't need more knockups. The game didn't need more stuns. The game certainly didn't need anything that synergizes with Barbarians on defense in the battleground. Tortured, and I think the worthwhile things to mention here are that the cooldown can be reduced to 9 seconds while providing a large 36% damage per second to, say, PvP targets that might be knocked back, feared, or otherwise stuck in the path from, say, a dashing monk that runs Gloom, which is already dealing massive burst damage. This might be the most overtuned of all the sets simply because it's so easy to capitalize on. You may see this used by other classes, even in PvE, because you can utilize dashes for mobility, and it's really easy to funnel mobs into position, dash over them, and move on to the next pack. That's it for now, guys. As always, feel free to leave comments or questions. If you have any more specific examples, there's just too much and I don't want the video to go on forever. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.